Hey guys, sorry that was a couple minutes late. I was having some technical difficulties. It's been a bit of a wild week in my life. So it would have surprised me if I would have been able to get on with no problems. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about intermittent fasting. And I know last week when I made those four posts about what I do to reset after I've, maybe indulged a little bit too much, or for me, it's, after the summer. August is a month of a lot of holidays for me, and, just too much eating and too much wine and too much having fun and really getting off course with the way I normally live my life. So I wanted to answer questions that you guys had about intermittent fasting. I'm going to try to do that with this presentation that I'm doing. I hope that I've answered a lot of questions inside of it, but at the end, I am going to give you time to ask questions if you are watching live. If you're watching live, please say hello in the comments so that I know that you're here. And if you're watching the replay, just type replay so that I know you're watching the replay. If you have questions and you're watching the replay, please just put them in the comments. I will get a message or a notification from Facebook, and then I can answer that question later. I know this is not a perfect time for everybody with the different time zones. And even for me, it's sometimes not a perfect time, but it's just a time that I can do it. So I know Troy's watching. Hi, Troy. How are you? So I'm going to get started. And like I said, just ask questions if you have them, please, and I will answer them. So let me just share my screen. Okay. So today we're going to talk about what the truth is about intermittent fasting for men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, because I know that many people that I work with, when I start working with them, they are doing intermittent fasting. Maybe they're doing a window of 16 hours fasting or 18 hours fasting and 6 hours of eating or 8 hours of eating, and they're not getting results. So the more people that I talk to, and even last week when you guys were commenting on that post about intermittent fasting, so many people said, I'm fasting and it's really not working for me. So I'm going to try to make you understand why it might not be working for you. And then you can hopefully apply it to your situation. And if you still have questions, even after I answer them during this presentation, you are always, always, always welcome to reach out to me. Just a second here. I just want to make, hey, PJ. Okay, so let's get going here. I'm a bit flustered. So is this training for you? Just put a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 in the comments if this sort of explains where you're at right now. Number 1, you're frustrated with slow or stalled results from intermittent fasting. You're confused from conflicting advice that you're getting on the internet about fasting or from friends. You have guilt and all or nothing thinking when it comes to fasting. So maybe you tell yourself, hey, I'm going to fast for 16 hours, and then 10 or 12 hours in, you're really hungry. You decide you're going to eat, and then you eat something, and then you feel guilty for breaking the fast. So if that's you, you can put a 3 in the comments. Number 4 is you find it hard to fit fasting into family and social life. I know a lot of people I work with have wives, families, children, social events, and it's really, really difficult for them to fit fasting into their routine, especially if they are doing a lot of fasting, or they think that they have to fast every single day. Hi, Dave. 5 is you have work and energy struggles. So maybe you're fasting, maybe you're just doing OMAD or one meal a day, but you feel exhausted all the time, and you have to go to work and you have work to do around the house, and you are just really tired, and it's just really not working for you. And number 6, and this one applies to me sometimes, you make poor food choices after fasting. So sometimes I'll tell myself, hey, I'm not going to eat until noon tomorrow. And I don't eat until noon. And then from noon until the time I go to bed, I'm just making bad choices. I'm like, well, I fasted, so I can eat, 3 pieces of toast, or I can have 2 pieces of chocolate cake. So if that's you, you can put a 6 in the comments. So the myth really is that intermittent fasting is the magic bullet for men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s who want to lose weight. You can put a 1 in the comments. I'm sure you've heard it before. If you have put a 1, that, guys are just going to tell you, oh, just intermittent fast, like, just fast. I fast for 18 hours a day and I've lost X number of pounds. So people think it's this magic bullet, but really, I have a lot of experience working with men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, especially in their 50s and 60s. And oftentimes it really is not the magic bullet. Intermittent fasting is a tool. Okay. It's not a magic bullet. It can be extremely helpful for people. It can, jumpstart results. It can keep people on track. It can get people over plateaus, but it's a tool. And the success of intermittent fasting really depends on balance. So if you don't have the right nutrition, it can actually work against you. So today's topics are going to be what is intermittent fasting, the benefits for men in midlife, the drawbacks and the risks, and how to make fasting work for you. And then I'll do question and answer if you guys want or have any questions to ask me. So, number one is what is intermittent fasting? There are all kinds of different terms for fasting. What is fasting? The simple definition is just to abstain from consuming any calories in the form of food or drink for a set period of time. Okay. Common methods are these ones 16-8. So you do a 16-hour fast and an 8-hour eating window. 18-6. That's an 18-hour fast and a 6-hour eating window. OMAD, one meal a day. You could do a 24-hour fast, which means you're not eating anything. You're just having water, herbal tea, or black coffee for 24 hours. 36-hour fast, 50-hour fast. And then there are people who do even longer fasts. There are people who do 100-hour fasts or 5-day fasts. So there are all kinds of different ways to fast, but it basically means that you're not eating anything, you're not drinking any calories either. The reason why I think, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, that men like the idea of fasting is that it gives you structure. So if you're doing a 16-8 fast, you know you're not eating for 16 hours, and in those 8 hours, you're going to have your meals. Simplicity, satiety. So, sometimes it feels good to have two big meals instead of just grazing all day. And sustainability. It's simple. It's not a complicated diet. Most of the time you guys can eat what you want when you're in your eating window. So it's not complicated. It's not like keto. There are not a bunch of rules surrounding it other than you can't eat during a period of time and you can eat during your eating window. So let's talk about the benefits of fasting for men in their midlife. The benefits are that fasting can help resolve insulin resistance. And if you watch any of my other trainings, you're going to know that if you have belly fat, you have insulin resistance. And if you do not lose or you do not fix insulin resistance, sustainable weight loss is very, very difficult. So you definitely want to fix your insulin resistance, and fasting is one way that can really help. And if you want more information about how and why that works, you can please just message me or comment insulin resistance, and I'll help explain it to you, maybe in Messenger or on a phone or on a call, Zoom call. Number two is that it's simplified eating. Like I said, it's easy. You have an eating window and you have a fasting window. Number three is that it burns fat and it lowers inflammation. So say you're fasting for 16 or 18 hours, at a certain point, your body still needs energy to function. It's going to burn your fat for energy instead of whatever you're putting in your mouth, because you're not putting anything in your mouth. Okay. So it's a fat burning. So I just want to start with one quick case study. And this is one of my clients who came to me in his early 60s. His name is Kevin. He was 5'10". He was 197 pounds at that time. He wanted to lose about 20 pounds. He was going to the gym 5 times a week. He was fasting for 16 or 18 hours every day, and he could not lose weight. He was fasting in a perfect way, really. He was intermittent fasting, but he was doing it every single day. And what happened was, at the end of it, when we started working together, when I took a close look at what he was doing, he wasn't getting what he needed. He wasn't getting enough calories. He wasn't getting enough protein for the amount of exercise he was getting. So I see this all the time. I see examples of how fasting is really not working for many, many men, especially in their 50s and 60s, because when you get older as a man, you can't use protein and the calories that you eat as efficiently as you used to. So it's really hard to get what you need in 6 hours. So another case study was Dave. I know Dave, you're watching right now. He's in his early 60s. He was, over 400 pounds when he started working with me, and 100 pounds down now, though. Congratulations. And he was fasting until lunch every single day and only having 2 meals. And he could also not lose weight. So this is another example of how intermittent fasting, if you do it every single day, it's not always going to work. And most of the time, that's because you're not getting enough. So let's talk about that. The drawbacks and risks of fasting for men in their midlife. The biggest mistakes that I see men make when it comes to fasting are that they fast too much. They're doing it too often. So they take it and they run with it. They use fasting as a lifestyle instead of a tool. They're like, I'm going to intermittent fast. It's so good for you. And then like Dave or Kevin, they fast every single day until lunch. They have a small eating window every single day and they don't get what they need. The second thing is you guys, you're like, you don't want to give up. Okay. So I know that everybody watching this and everybody inside this group is not losing weight because they're not trying hard. Okay. But you guys tend to, you take something and you run with it. So you're going to keep fasting even when it's not working. A lot of the guys I end up working with, they've been fasting for years. They've been having one meal a day for the last 5 years and it's not working. So if you guys are doing anything to try to lose weight or fix your health and it's not working, there's a point where you have to stop and sort of readjust. Okay. And then third mistake that guys make is that they don't understand how to eat right for their age, activity and activity level and body when they're not fasting. So you can fast and you can be great at fasting, but if you don't understand to eat right when you're eating, it's not going to work out. Okay. So fasting incorrectly really can lead to not getting enough calories. You can get protein gaps. And by that, I mean you're not getting as much protein as you need. If you're not getting as much protein as you need, you're going to be losing muscle mass, which is not what men want. And also what's just really not good for your overall health and your ability to lose weight. Then you have over restriction. So you're restricting your calories too much. And then you get into this overeating cycle. So it becomes too much stress on your body, right? You're not getting enough calories, your body's stressed, and it just kind of backfires, which is not great. It defeats the purpose. So when you are going to try, or if you want to try intermittent fasting, or or you have tried it before and you want to try to reintroduce it, these are 5 things to consider that should make fasting work for you. And I just want to say one thing first, okay? There's something that you really should know, and that is that I almost never recommend fasting when I start working with somebody. This is not an initial strategy that I use with pretty much everybody because there are fundamental things that need to be dealt with before we introduce fasting. I always recommend that people get some kind of fast. So, for example, for me, I have this non negotiable rule for myself that I always get a 12-hour fast overnight. So, if I eat dinner at 6 p.m., I do not eat anything until after 6 a.m. the next day. So that can be something that I definitely recommend to everybody is let's have a decent fast overnight, 12 hours. So maybe that cuts out snacking, maybe that pushes breakfast a little bit later, but we don't ever start with we're going to do a 16-8 right away or an 18-6, or we're going to start doing a 24-hour fast once a week. That is not where you need to start. It's not where my clients start, and it's not where you need to start. The place you need to start if you're thinking about fasting is here. You need to learn the basics and know what your body needs to be strong and healthy, because you need to know that in order to fast properly. You should not be starving yourself in order to lose weight every single day. A fast is not starving yourself. If you do a 24-hour fast, for example, that's a really good break for your body. Your body doesn't think you're starving. Your body just thinks there's no food available that day. But if you do an 18-hour fast every single day and you're not getting the calories that you need every single day, then your body thinks that it's starving and it's going to hold on to fat, which is why you might be fasting. You might be doing a great job of fasting. You might be like, hey, I'm only having one meal a day. I'm only eating in a 4-hour window. I'm fasting 20 hours every day. Why am I not losing this weight? It's because your body thinks you're starving. You're not getting what you need. So you don't want to be starving yourself. It does not work. It doesn't work if you're dieting. It doesn't work if you're fasting. It just doesn't work. This is a healthy plate of food. That's my plate of food. Okay. You need to learn how to get what your body needs in 3 meals a day before you use fasting as a long-term strategy. So you got to try to have 3 meals, and you want them to have protein, you want them to have healthy fat, and you want them to have carbs and fiber. And you want to fast in between them. You want to just eat 3 times and not snack. That's really, really important. Okay, so understanding what your body needs and learning to eat right might be all that your body needs. If you're thinking to yourself right now, I can't even imagine not eating for 24 hours. I can't imagine for, fasting for 16 hours or 18 hours. It's just not something that I want to do. You don't necessarily have to do it. And I'm going to use an example of a client I just stopped working with. He was working with me for a little over 6 months. His name was Mike. He was 56, or he is 56, sorry. He had type 2 diabetes when we first started working together. His A1C was 12. If you have diabetes, that's really high. He was 280 pounds, okay, and 5'10". He was not interested in fasting. He told me at the beginning, he said, I love food, I love eating. There was no way he was going to fast. In the last 6 months, he put his diabetes completely into remission. His A1C is now 5.4 as of last week, and he lost 65 pounds. And he did not fast. He didn't fast once. He learned how to eat right. So if you feel like you don't want to fast, or it's just not something you feel like you can fit it into your life, please don't think that that's the only way that you can lose weight and be healthy. I know it's all over the internet that like fasting is the best thing ever. I also fast, but it doesn't mean that you have to fast to lose weight. Mike's a great example of that, and I have a lot of other clients that are great examples of that. The second thing you need to do if you want to be successful at fasting is to ask yourself the following question. Can I get what my body needs in my eating window? So if you decide that you want to do a 16-8 fast, so fast for 16 hours and eat for 8 hours during the day, then you need to determine if you can get what your body needs inside of those 8 hours. Can you get enough protein? Can you get enough calories? Can you get all of the things that you need? It's really important that you figure that out. And if you're watching live or you're watching the replay, and you want help figuring out what your body needs, just type help. I'll reach out to you. I can easily run the numbers for you. You can also find resources for that on the internet or ask ChatGPT. But how do I know what my body needs? So like I said, just say help. If you want help with that, I can help explain it to you. I can run the numbers through my system for you to find out. But here's an example. Say you are a man, you're 57 years old, you're 6'1", 6'1", you're 240 pounds, and you're lightly active, which means you're getting activity maybe 3 to 4 times a week, light activity. You need to get 2,400-ish to 2,600 calories a day, and you need to get 175 grams of protein somehow. So you need to figure out, if you're 6'1" and you want to fast and you want to do a 16 to an 18-hour fast, that would give you, 6 to 8 hours to get everything you need in. Can you physically eat 2,400 to 2,600 calories in that time? Can you get enough protein? Can you digest all the nutrition that you need so that your body can use it to build muscle? Can you do all of those things in the 8 hours? It's really important that you ask yourself that. I'm going to say if you're 6'1" and you're 240 pounds, you need 2,400 calories and you need 175 grams of protein. It's going to be pretty hard to get it in a 6-hour eating window. Maybe 8, 9 might probably be better. But for an example, you can take a look at this plate. Again, this is one of my dinner plates. That dinner plate probably has, it's pork tenderloin, and you can, make out what the other things are, but it probably only has about 650 or 700 calories. So you would need, if you're 6'1", a plate a little bit bigger than this 3 times a day to get all of the things that you need. So it's okay if you want to fast once in a while and you're not getting what you need, maybe 1 day a week. But if you're trying to implement intermittent fasting every single day, and you're not getting what you need every single day, that's when you're going to run into trouble. And that's why maybe you're intermittent fasting and it's not working, okay, because you're not getting the proper nutrition. Number 3 is keep your calories reasonable and don't starve yourself day after day. So this plate of food's a good example of not starving yourself. Sometimes I eat this for breakfast, guys. So, I could eat that plate 3 times a day and not gain weight. That's maintenance calories for me. So if you're 6'1", or you're 6 foot tall, or you're 6'5", or you're 5'10", and you're a man, you need to eat a significant amount. Okay, so keep your calories reasonable and don't starve yourself day after day. It's okay to fast for a day. like I told you before, your body doesn't feel like it's starving if you have a fast. It's okay to fast for 24 hours. It's okay to have a longer fast, even like than that, every few weeks. But it's just when you do things day after day after day that they stop working and that they backfire. Please stop thinking that's a badge of honor to eat as little as possible. It really isn't. It's not good for you. It causes you to lose muscle mass, and it generally backfires when it comes to weight loss. Number four is listen to your body. And I'm serious about this. Listen to your body. Are you tired all the time? Like, are you intermittent fasting? Have you implemented some fasting routine and now you're tired all the time? If you are, it's probably not working out. Okay. You shouldn't feel tired all the time. It's just like you shouldn't feel hungry all the time if you're dieting. You should feel better. You should feel better if you're getting right nutrition. If you are eating properly, you should feel better and you should be losing weight. Do you feel like you are losing muscle? Okay. I was talking to one of my clients last week and he said that his neighbor came over and she has been taking Ozempic and she's lost 50 pounds and she was complaining that, everywhere was flabby. She was like, I've lost all this weight, but I'm flabby. Like I've lost so much muscle. You don't want to lose muscle. Okay. So if you feel weak, if you feel like you're losing muscle, if you're feeling flabby, it means that whatever strategy you're using, whether that's fasting or Ozempic or diet, that it is not giving you what you need so that you can maintain your muscle mass. And that is one of the most important things you need to do if you are a man in your 40s, 50s, and 60s and you're trying to lose weight. You need to maintain your muscle mass. Hey, is your sleep terrible? If your sleep's terrible, something's off. Okay. Are you fasting and then binging or overeating? If you are fasting for 18 hours or 16 hours and then you're eating a crazy amount of food in a short amount of time, or you're reaching for, unhealthy snacks or processed foods, sweets, chips, then fasting isn't beneficial. Okay. Because here's number four, and it kind of goes into that. It's that you need to pair fasting with whole nutrient dense meals, not processed foods. So fasting should not be some excuse to then go binge on unhealthy stuff. You're like, well, I only ate one meal a day. I'm only eating once a day and I'm fasting the whole rest of the day so I can eat whatever the heck I want. No, that's not really the way it works. You should be focusing on whole foods, nutrient dense meals, 3 of them every day. um, and if you want to fast, that's great, but you want to do it from a place where you're already eating properly. You've already learned what your body needs. You're already getting the nutrition your body needs. And then you introduce fasting. Because if you introduce fasting before that, you haven't really addressed the underlying issues. Okay. And a bonus is use fasting as a strategy to enjoy your life. So I don't advocate people going on some crazy diet where they can never have cake and they can never have ice cream. I just got the most wonderful photos from a couple that I'm working with. They're on vacation for these 2 weeks, and there's a picture of one of them having dessert and the other one having ice cream. You should still be able to be on a weight loss program, uh, and still be able to enjoy this stuff. So you can use fasting as a strategy to enjoy your life. I personally do that. I use it as damage control because sometimes, like the last 2 weeks of the summer, I did overindulge. I wasn't feeling good at the end of it. I was gaining a little bit of weight. So you can use fasting as a strategy to enjoy your life. So some examples of that are, did you indulge too much at a celebration or a family event? Say you were eating until 7 or 8 in the evening, you had the barbecue, you had burgers, you had all the things, you had pie. You don't need to freak out about it, but one way to use fasting as a great strategy for damage control is that, hey, you can just fast until noon the next day. So that's a great way to offset overindulging the evening before. Say you went out for a late lunch and you're just not hungry in the evening. You can fast until breakfast the next day. Just skip dinner. It's not really a big deal. Like I said, when you're fasting, it's okay. If you're not getting what you need for one day, like not as much calories, not as many grams of protein, all those sorts of things, it's fine. So, yeah, say you went out with friends on a Sunday, you had a couple glasses of wine, you had a late lunch at a restaurant, you ate a ton of food, you had dessert too. You can just fast until breakfast the next day. Skip dinner. Who cares if you're not hungry? Just drink a bunch of water. The next way you can use fasting is if your weight is stuck and it just won't budge. So this is a strategy that I use sometimes with my clients. I know one of my clients is on right now. We've been using this strategy with him. So if your weight's really, really stuck, like say you've been working with me for 5, 6, 7 weeks or even months, and we really can't get your weight to move. We've tried everything. I've implemented all kinds of other strategies. Sometimes adding in a weekly fast, 24-hour fast, if you're willing to do that, or 16/8. So just at least fasting 16 hours overnight or 18 hours, it can really help to get things moving. And that can be something that you guys can also do is say fasting doesn't really fit into your life and you're not that keen on fasting. You could do one fast a week. You could say, whatever the quietest day of your week is, say Saturday night after dinner, you could fast until Sunday at noon. That could be a good strategy and it could help get things moving if you've been doing, quote unquote, everything right and you're still not seeing the scale move at all. Okay. So those are the ways that you can fast and get results. But I need you to understand that the only way to lose weight sustainably is really to learn how to eat right for your body. And that's different for everybody. I hate to say it, like I'm sure half of you wanted to watch this and for me to say, you just need to do this. But it really depends on what situation you're in, how much stress is in your life, how you're eating right now, your underlying health issues, and all of this stuff. But the one thing that you can all do is make sure you're getting at least a 12-hour fast overnight. That's really, really important. And then if you want to add in some intermittent fasting into your week, that's great. But don't do it every single day. Just pick one day that it's going to work in your life and with your schedule. Maybe you have to drive your kids around on a Saturday morning to all kinds of activities. So maybe it's not really convenient for you to have breakfast on a Saturday morning. You can stop eating at Friday at dinner time and you can fast until early afternoon on Saturday. And that's a really good way to get started. Just make sure when you break that fast that you're breaking it with a good, healthy meal, kind of like that picture that I showed you earlier of my meal. Okay. Vegetables, protein, maybe a bit of starch, right? We want protein, we want fat, we want fiber, and the carbs. All right. So no amount of fasting is going to get rid of your belly fat if you don't know how to eat right when you're not fasting. So you can fast every day. And if you still don't know how to eat right when you're not fasting, you're going to be in the same position. Okay. Because the bottom line is you have to deal with your insulin resistance. Fasting will help fix your insulin resistance. But then if when you're eating, you're just doing all these things to counteract that and encourage insulin resistance, you're not going to get anywhere. Okay. It's like you're going to be I don't even know, like you're just going to be basically swimming against one of those, like in one of those swimming pools with the jets that are pushing against you. You're not going to get anywhere. Okay. You need to know how to eat right. So you need to learn how to reverse insulin resistance. You've got to be able to maintain your muscle mass. And guys, I'm telling you, a lot of people who I work with, they've been fasting, they've been starving themselves, and they've lost a ton of muscle mass. And it's not good. It sets you up to not be able to lose weight later. So the more you've lost weight and gained it back, the worse your muscle mass situation is going to be. We need to fix that. You need to fix that. And the only way to fix that is learning how to eat right. Okay. It's not hitting the gym. That can help, but it's really just learning how to eat right. You need to learn to balance your hormones, fix your metabolism, and decrease inflammation. So that's what I do with my clients. Obviously, we fix those things. I teach you how to make the right food choices so that you can maintain your muscle mass and sort your hormones out, fix your metabolism, and get your inflammation down so that the weight comes off. Okay. So just aim for 2 to 3 solid meals per day. And if you want to, hang on, I'm just going to get out of this full screen if I can. Oops. Oh boy. Yeah. Anyway, so if you do want to try to intermittent fast, definitely try it. It works. If you're doing it right, you can get great results. I use it for some of my for when I overindulge, obviously, but I also use fasting to help with my health problems. It can be really, really beneficial. So if you have questions about it, as I said, if you're in the comments now or watching live now, go ahead. You can ask questions. I can answer them in real time as long as Facebook is giving me what I need here. Let me just check. And if you're watching the replay, also, like I said, please just put your questions in the comments, and I will get the notification, and then I can reach out to you in Messenger, so we can have a private conversation, or we can also just go back and forth in the comments if you don't use Messenger. But if there are no questions right now, then I'm going to leave it at that. And if you are one of my clients and you're watching, guys, you know how to reach me. If you are thinking that, you want to start implementing intermittent fasting, we'll just get on a call. I'll make you a plan, and we'll figure out what's going to work for you. And you know me, it's always a pretty gentle approach. You don't want to do anything too extreme because you want it to be able to stick long term. So that's intermittent fasting. I hope it was helpful. And yeah, please reach out if you have any questions about that, and we will talk about it. I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend.